Hey, I'm Jennifer Zmuda. This is my podcast speaking with small business owners of all types. And today I'm with Savannah Caines of C'est Moment Photography. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about wedding photography, the world of wedding photography, working with other vendors. We're going to talk about AI tools that we use as small business owners that save us time and energy and effort. And then we're also going to talk about the balance of parenthood and how to do that as a small business owner and find the gigs that work with the time and the period of life that we're in with our children and with our families. So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great time. All right, here we go. So let's start. We're going to talk right away about wedding photography and vendors. Yeah. Yes. So who are your favorite vendors to work with when it comes to working on a wedding day? As a photographer, you're a wedding photographer.
I am. You. No, you're always my go-to first person for any wedding. So it's been a bummer over the last couple of years. I mean, I love all the other people I work with. Of course, I wouldn't keep working with them. Sorry. But no, it's because we've worked together on weddings for...
It's been 7 years
or so, yeah. And so we learned a lot. We even pitched a while photo and video team. We've done wedding shows together. So it felt like having the closest thing I had to like a partner.
I'm so sorry. No. I've stopped doing weddings because I realized that I don't enjoy them as much as I think one does to want to be able to continue to do the work. So
I know the work is, I think, hard to understand unless you are in the wedding industry, the sheer exhaustion. Anyway, I've met some other really lovely people, but you're my favorite.
Yeah.
So
because I've second shot photography with you as an assistant, and then also leading the way on the video team that works with you as a photographer.
Yeah.
So now you've already done it before me anyway, but worked with we don't need to talk about the second shooters, I don't think necessarily, but like other wedding videographers. And I feel like there's always this, especially on those Facebook groups, because I am both on the wedding photographer Facebook groups and I'm on the wedding videographer face groups, and they both complain about each other.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was like, God damn, that photographer's in my shot all the time. And like for photographers, they're like, why is the videographer standing there? So like what makes it... We're always in each other's way. What makes it good? What helps to make it less frustrating?
I think if you, as a vendor, are going in, especially photographer or videographer, because I also second shoot for people,
sure.
Right? And so, and then having been in my own sister's wedding recently, since starting my wedding photography business, being able to see it from all those sides. Are you the lead? Are you the second? Are you in the wedding? When it works well when you both go in, or you all go in with the same philosophy about how to handle the day, the same style approach. And I think some of that comes down to the client, the couple, picking complementary vendors, like who maybe there's clear vision, an experience, a way they want to experience their day. So it works well if you have that similar vibe. Maybe that's documentary style. Maybe that's... hey, we keep it really natural. We really like these things, not so much of this. When those things mesh, then you're like, yeah, totally. You're not going to be in each other's way. You're going to have this similar approach of what we're always shoulder to shoulder, right? Like here's the plan. We're right here so that we're both getting that key shot. Our seconds are also coordinating.
So 2 things. I think, yes, having the client have that vision ahead of time. I don't think there's often the opportunity or the process already in place for a separate company to talk to each other and have that pre-pro meeting, basically. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people do that. Sometimes they have like an email exchange of that. I think it's rare that you actually have a physical or Zoom meeting as a photographer of one company and the videographer of another to have that game plan. So the 2 things that come out in my brain are your ability to spatial awareness, and just the idea that you need to be spatially aware of someone else. And I think I have a dance background, so there is always, hi Lulu, we have dogs in the space, so they're going to join us every once in a while. She could have been a therapy dog. She really is like, let me just smother you with my body.
Thank you for bringing your...
Yes. You get down. Are you going to come over and smother me?
Yeah.
Having the awareness of, you're so sweet. You're such a sweet pupper. That there is somebody else to be aware of. I've watched so many other videographers that you can tell that they're not even aware. They're not even trying to be aware.
Right.
That there's somebody in the room trying to capture the same shot that you are. So I think that's like number one, a skill set that you want to look for is someone who has an understanding of spatial awareness. I don't know if you're as the bride looking for that or just in vendors you're willing to work with, that you notice that that person is cognizant that you exist as the other creator in that scenario. And so having spatial awareness, but then I think having an understanding of body language, because I've seen the teams that have like the little earpiece recorder so they can talk to each other back and forth. But even still during a ceremony, I don't want to be annoyed as a guest hearing the videographer or the photographer is like, shh, move this. So just having an awareness of body language, because I think so many times we look at each other and we're like, yeah, like there's a symbiosis of what's being said without having to actually say the words or do any sort of like, you just know and see it. So it's rare that you have that partnership.
The dogs lost me on your first point, but I had
It was the spatial awareness.
Spatial awareness, yes.
And then the second point was understanding of body language and like just what a look. And I think that trend of women that make eye contact with each other and you can tell with the slightest variation of what their face does exactly what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
And I want to give men the benefit of the doubt that they maybe have that language too. But I think in general, like women are so in tune with communication and energy that we don't have, I mean, in most cases, we don't have to say a whole lot. It's just we switch places, done with a look. Time to go down the center aisle? Totally.
Yeah.
I'm down, you're up? Great. Like doesn't have to be said out loud. It just happens. And I think that's really, I do love that about it. And I'm sorry because it is so fun to do that with you on those days.
No,
I just don't
have a fun time.
Yeah.
But it's hard to appreciate the level of mental and emotional energy, physical energy that goes into shooting a wedding day to the level that I think we both expect to work.
Yeah.
I'm sure people can go and do a poor job and not expend too much energy, but that's not what either of us brings to the table.
Yeah.
And so it does take a lot on that. And to your first point about the spatial awareness, taking that the next step further and kind of connecting it to the philosophy, that approach of you have a particular client that's hiring you as an artist for your vision and your end product, and then also your service, right, kind of comes in. But they don't have that experience. They can only see your end product and maybe your reviews about how that went. But I know for you and I both, well, I'll speak for myself, but I think for you as well, our goal is to document what's happening, even if, without disrupting what's happening. So that might mean that more shots of a ceremony or a particular event are wider, or from, maybe there is a more, perfect angle if I could get right in there, but it's not my show. It's not about me getting the shot. It's not about you getting the shot. It's about the couple having that moment, having that actual experience. And fortunately, it's getting documented in a way, but it's not the point. The point of the ceremony, the point of those unity events or things like that, isn't to take a picture of it, right? Or take video of it. And so when vendors forget that it's not about the shot, that's when I think they lose their focus on where they are in the room. And so that is my number one pet peeve, my number one, kind of, I don't know, goal, anti-goal, is to be the one who doesn't disrupt.
Yeah.
Right. And so if that means it's a wide shot from the back because I was not going to, or a shot from the side, I am not going to walk behind you at the altar. I'm not going to stand in front of your mom.
That's what I was going to say. The people that I've seen that stand during the wedding ceremony up in that very intimate, private space between the bride, the groom, and their officiant. I mean, even the bridal party is like 4 feet back. And they're just like hanging out over top. That's not it.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with toasts. Like you don't need to be 2 feet from the couple during toasts. You should be back. It's about them exchanging those words of love with each other and not you blocking that experience for everyone who's there to be there with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
I don't care what your product is. I don't care what your look is. No. I don't care what your artistic style is. It's not about you on the wedding day.
Absolutely not. And if you can't get the shot with the gear that you have, you need to rent it, or you need to accept that you're not going to get that shot until you can purchase that once. And no foul. You all have to grow and scale, and
sure,
you're not going to have the best piece of equipment out of the gate, right? Like,
yeah.
So if you need to rent the lens that day, then that's what you need to do to get that shot without disturbing. Because I know we've had a lot of talks and a few texts from ceremonies, or rather not ceremonies, but receptions
and ceremonies.
Yeah, where the vendors became a hindrance, a distraction, where they physically blocked the entire audience's view, 150 people, from the couple, because they had to stand right in front of them to get that close shot, because they felt like they needed to get that close shot for the speech. Well, now the bride and groom can't see their guests. They can't see their parents' faces, the reactions.
And it's uncomfortable too, right? Like that's the paparazzi thing, is that you're like, I'm not alone in this. I'm now not paying even attention to the words. I'm distracted by your physical presence hovering oftentimes over, because they're like sitting at a table.
And what really bothers me about that is, like, you have now interrupted, permanently marred this experience in this couple's mind, in their memory, because you're up in their group.
Yeah. That's not
right.
Yeah.
During the toast, but I may be crying. They're trying to see their parents. You know, I will not ever get over that.
Yeah. Agreed.
That is a don't get me started on that. Really. So I think when it goes well, it is when you're working with vendors who share your values in that, in those moments, right? There are plenty of other times that you can be more mastermindy about setups and shots and portraits and details, things like that. But don't interrupt and disrupt the whole. It's like missing the point.
Yeah.
You're missing the point.
You're missing the point of what you've been hired to do. Yeah. Lee, bring your microphone a little bit closer to you. So I'm watching your levels be kind of just a little bit lower. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's switch gears.
I think it was Leela.
It was totally Leela's fault. Dogs. So let's switch gears.
Yeah.
So small business owners, I think that there's so much beauty that we can do that for ourselves, that we can run and own businesses. It's really freaking hard, right? Like really I am a huge proponent of owning a small business. I think that it gives you control. I think it's for a certain type of person who has that need to be in charge of their life and willing to do all the work to sustain that, versus someone who's like, just tell me what the job is. I'll show up at 9, I'll do that work, and I'll leave at 5, and I won't. That's also a very valid form of life.
Absolutely. Leave it at the door.
But as a small business owner, we're doing everything all at once, which I just watched that movie, Everything All at Once.
Oh, yes.
And like the goal is, I think, as a small business owner, is to find ways to make that role always easier, whether that is expanding your team and your crew and your staff. If your business is increasing and you have the funds and the income to be able to support that, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
As a satisfying thing for me that I hire people, like that feels good. It feels stressful because now I have a payroll and I need to make a certain amount of money to pay those people out. But it does feel good to like, I am creating work that then funds this person's life. And now that's a good thing versus like a Target or a Walmart that's going to make that as difficult as possible for someone to have a living wage and a life. But in the world of AI, we also as business owners need to take advantage of those technology, the advances that we've had in technology to be able to support us and make things more efficient and fast. So what are your favorite top tools that you use to be efficient as a small business owner of a photography company?
Well, I do want to say I completely agree with you on what it takes to be a small business owner. I read something really early. It is a lot. I was just saying to my husband last night, though, like I really love working for myself. I cannot, I'm now feel spoiled. I feel like I would never be a good employee again.
I would be awful.
Right. There's just something about it I really love. Even if I have to keep inventing new businesses, I just want to work for myself. And I appreciate that freedom. With that level of freedom comes a lot of extra work.
A lot of extra work.
Yeah.
Stress, because you're the risk holder, right?
Right. You are. It's all on you, right? Especially if you have,
family,
more kids,
all that,
like
student loans.
It never like to buy groceries once in a while. And I lost track of your question. Oh, the tools that we use. So, I was going to say I read this lovely quote early on that that made me chuckle. It was that an entrepreneur would rather work 80 hours for themselves than 40 hours for someone else.
Yeah,
and I think it just never turns off. It's just hard.
Yeah.
But it also it's draining and fulfilling at the same time.
Yeah.
It just keeps you going and then takes all your energy.
And working for somebody else, there's always like a cap to what they're willing to pay you. And with running your own business, so you put in 80 hours, then that work literally goes into you making more and having more success in your business, no matter whether it's financial or efficiency or creativity or satisfaction.
Yes, joy
feeds into you back. It doesn't take away.
Totally.
Maybe it does in some situations, but at this point, right.
Yeah. So in that, knowing that you're going to work double to keep it going, what tools are out there? So I just came across a new program that I'm excited. I've used it for two projects just about a week ago, and I'm excited to use it for more as I start to work with more small businesses, more commercial type projects rather. I think it's called Mila Note, Mila, Mila Note. But it's a great, really intuitive, fast sort of drag and drop with what they call cards or boards. They have a lot of really clever templates pre-built in that you sort of click a couple of, I'm doing this sort of project and I'm a photographer or I'm a videographer or I'm a producer, I'm a stylist.
Creative based, because there's creative based AI, things like that for like administrative things that make it very listy, but this is for creative.
No, this is creative based, and it lets you put in everything from, I think it's meant to be shared with a team.
Okay.
So you could be putting in checklists and to-dos for certain people, like schedules, really, like, But then it has plenty of visual component to it. So if you're doing a mood board or a storyboard, and you can just be dragging and dropping in these images, and it has a plugin that you can pull images from anywhere. The way Pinterest has a button, this also puts a button.
Okay.
So if I'm on Pinterest or on 50 other websites and I'm like, this is great inspiration, this is great, I just click the little thing, it goes in a hopper, I drag and drop it where I want to organize it. It was really, I loved it.
Yeah.
And then you can export it as a PDF if you want to share it and save it.
It's really great. I think even for creating proposals for clients, right? Absolutely. Like you've got all of these ideas and the process that you're going to take, and then this is what I would like to do for you.
Yeah. And there's a free version and a paid version depending on how many people are on your team and how many boards you're creating. So that was a cool one. Still pretty new to me. But I was hitting a point where it's like, I want to storyboard and get prepped for this session, but my pen and paper scratch notes aren't cutting it. I want something next level. So,
and I used to use like Adobe products. I'd build a thing out of InDesign of a storyboard, and then there was Canva, and then even Canva. I'm like, this isn't actually, it's user friendly for people who don't often do things in Adobe for design. But I was like, it still is clunky and not great. It sounds like it doesn't have that clunky factor to it, that it's really streamlined.
This feels great. Now, I haven't touched on any sort of the sort of decorative elements or graphic design elements that come in with Adobe or Canva, and I still use those too for other things. But this really met that big picture planning need.
Yeah.
So I loved that.
Awesome.
I was excited to tell you about that. The other program that I have been using for about a year is Imagine AI, and this is an editing software for Lightroom specifically. While I had a hard time with it at the beginning, just personally feeling like maybe I was losing some of my artistic control over my images, I've come around because ultimately what happens is you upload your finished images to even start developing a profile. So you have to have a minimum of 3,000 images for it to start learning your style.
Okay.
And then every session or catalog that you upload, it edits based on your past edits. It's assessing light, exposure, aperture. It has an option to crop. I only use the auto straighten.
Okay.
And then I decide the crop later, or I'll crop it before I put it in. Those I sometimes like to make those decisions once the sort of the icing's on the cake, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So then after the program edits your images and you download the catalog again, you go in and you make your final tweaks. So you have the final say in this. You're doing the final once over. And then you re-upload that information so that the program can continue to learn on your changes. And it continues to collect that information, always adjusting your profile based on your edits. And so at this point, I'm up to 27,000 images loaded.
That's so insane.
Yeah, loaded in this program. So it's using my edits on 27,000 images to say, here's what we think you do with this one.
Yeah.
Not someone else.
That's what I love about it, right? Like,
style.
It feels like a very ethical use of AI in a creative world, and that it's doing it based off of your work. it is like the smartest possible clone of you that's doing all of that work for you, and it's doing it super fast.
Yes.
I love
crazy fast. I mean, it has absolutely cut my editing time down.
Yeah, what would it be?
Easily 70%.
Wow.
Easily 70%. Because
which is huge when you're spending a lot of time on weddings.
Yes. Or you have things, backed up. I mean, what that does is let me spend more time focusing on client services, shooting it better, getting that final result. And because I still have the final say, I still take those images back and look at every single image again by, myself with my eyes and say, a little more highlight, a little, more clarity here.
And I think
put that back.
So useful with the weddings too, because wedding season is a season, and it's so condensed. And there are weddings every single weekend, thousands of weddings on the weekends. And you as a business owner can only do as many as you can physically be there for. But then also the processing time. If you've got, 6 weeks worth of weddings back to back, double headers every single day of the weekend, you're telling your clients, like, sorry, I won't have your images back for you for a year,
right? Before
I can actually literally process through all of that.
Right, because you're talking about with 1,000 images a wedding or something that you're starting with. I mean,
it's huge.
Yeah. With this, you're just like, it's like having a sous chef, honestly.
Yeah.
Get this basic part started based on what I've already taught you to make it in my style. I'll take it and finish it.
I love that.
Yeah. It's been nice. So that's but I know there's nothing like that for video. Yeah.
Not that I've seen yet. I think that there's a whole world of stuff that I, as a business owner, that's one of my, and maybe my type of brain, I always feel like I want to know everything, and there is too much in the world to know. There's too much to know, and I need to scale back on that, because I think anxiety definitely comes into play of then just feeling like you can never stop learning, which is a good, I don't ever want to stop learning, but putting healthy boundaries on that. So there might be one out there for video that I just haven't heard of yet. The one that I actually appreciate that is an AI service that helps, and especially in situations like this, I love doing these podcasts where I get to talk to, I should call them Vodcast because they're video podcasts, get to talk to people and have real conversations and talk about interesting things. But then to manually go through and listen through, it's a half hour of us talking and then breaking that up into little pieces and editing and cutting it back and forth, re-listen and checking, and does it match? And then what about different angles? Is so immensely time consuming. So Munch is one that's just come out that I'm really loving and using. And how they come up with these names, I don't know, but they're you're going to munch through the footage.
Okay.
So it would take something like this. It's a 25-30 minute long podcast. Maybe we're talking for 45 minutes. I have no idea. And cut it down into, it actually does the trending of keywords that are happening right now and whether or not you've talked about them. And then it finds those parts of the video that have high trending keywords and cuts them into those short social media worthy sections of that. And it adds auto captions on top of it too.
Wow.
Which is sometimes helpful. Sometimes it's not, because I might have already done it for something else anyway. So we already have those captions, but it's building those on top of it. And then you just download it. Or you can it links it that you can just have it, then great, post that to my social.
Oh my gosh.
And that, again, it saves weeks.
Oh, I can't even.
Weeks worth of work on that kind of processing and synthesis. And also, I don't have the time to keep up to speed on what's trending today,
right?
On keywords. I don't know.
Right.
I'm sure someone knows. I'm sure there's software for that too. I'm positive that there's software for that. I'm just not looking at it every day. But it's just nice that this is all in one, that there's this video portion of it, and it's also doing all that other analysis for you too. So I appreciate that one as a video person. It doesn't help in weddings or any, stuff like that. But for my own personal content creation and for content creation for other small business owners that I work with and I'm creating content for, that it's super helpful. So
I can't imagine the post-production on.
And that's why I think that's one of the main reasons why I want to leave the wedding video world, is the amount of post-production that it takes on those weddings, for the amount that I feel comfortable charging someone to, because I know it's a personal budget. And I've always wanted to be accessible to the people, regardless of how much money you have. And there are wedding videographers out there who are I'm going to charge you $40,000 for your wedding, because those are the clients that they serve, and those people don't bat an eye, and they're great, $40,000, here's your check. And they do all of the work that's required to create that video for that price. The people that don't have that kind of money, I want them to still have wedding videos too, but it's just, the amount of time that it takes to do all of that work is extreme. And not really what I want to talk about. So let's move on.
You also still do plenty of photo work. I mean, you're not.
I do both.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's still room in your world for some of the other programs that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my hard part, I think, as an artist and my anal retentiveness is that would it be faster if I just did it? And that's often the thing in my head of like, I'm going to have to fix it. Is it enough of a mental release to trust it? And I think it's the trust factor that I'm often like, oh, now I just have to redo it sometimes.
Right.
You know, but if it actually does a really good job and I look at it and I go, that literally could have been me after 40 hours of work, sold.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some of these programs have some front work, right? Where you do have to re-edit the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna pay that in your time, but in the end, is it you know?
And I think that's the hard thing too right now with software. A lot of times I've invested in it, I've put the time in, you use it, you've spent a week learning it, doing all the things you have to do for it to learn you. And then you get to the final, like, great, is this going to work? And it doesn't work for you. And you're like, well, that's a waste of my money and my time and my effort. And like, so it's hard, I think, with a lot of technology that some people are throwing things out there like, this is a great idea, but it's half-assed.
Right.
And it just doesn't function the way that they say that it's going to function, or it doesn't end up fitting for your business model. So it's hard. It's a hard thing.
It is. That's why when you find one,
Yes.
this actually works for me.
I love it. Okay, so let's switch to our last thing to talk about, which is the heart of the Okay, so as a small business owner, I have both worked in project-based work and I have bridged into retainer clients. And there is, I think, pros and cons to both. But your business is mostly completely project work at this point.
At this point, it is completely project.
So let's talk about the challenges of that and what you're doing to try to get rid of those challenges or just work through it, I guess.
Well, it's been really awesome actually talking with you the last couple of years that you've had. But you're building this retainer client and that you have commercial work. You've had commercial work for quite some time. But as you build...
Really switching into more retainer work.
Yes, absolutely. It's always enjoyable as you grow in your business to learn from other people that...
I love that part. Yeah. That's exactly why I want to do this type of podcast work too, is just so that we can all talk.
Right. Absolutely. I think that at this point, so this is it'll be 9 years in June that I've had my business open. Yeah. Opened when I was 20. Wink. The project base at that point, because I still had a full-time W-2 job, I had 2 young children, with homeschooling, the project-based work is the only thing that made sense for me. I needed to be able to say, I can see you for this amount of time at this point, right? Yeah. As that built and I went full-time with this business, and just my family grew, schedules, needs changed. And again, the beauty of owning your own business, as those needs change, you change your job.
You don't have to ask anyone for time off. You don't have to ask anyone if it's okay that you spend your hours at home. And said, have we talked about this before? We did once.
Oh, which part?
I don't know. We filmed something at your house. I'm having absolute 100% deja vu. Have we not done this before?
We filmed doing the photo video announcement.
And we talked about being able to change your schedule and adjust things however you want to. I think my deja vu is always very strong. My deja vu is always exact and strong. It's so funny. Okay. Go ahead. Continue.
This
is the first time we're having this conversation in real life. Okay.
And then in the future it will happen again. So the interest that I have the challenge with project-based work as you move, away from weddings. So as I'm scaling back on weddings, really honing in on the exact kind of client that I'd like to work with, that being whose vision and desire for having their day documented matches with my philosophy about how I want to perform on that day. Scaling that down to fewer and fewer. What happens, that's predictable income. It's a project that is coming 6-8 months, sometimes a year or more out.
You've had to do all that work to get that project still too, though, right? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
And then, but something more like family sessions or a newborn session, sometimes I get a couple months notice. Sometimes I get an inquiry that's like, I had a baby last week. Can you come?
Which, first of all, if you're having a baby and you want photos, you should probably reach out before your baby is born, just because of schedules. That's all.
I still would love to see those photos.
Even if it's after, please reach out still,
of course,
too.
Absolutely.
It just makes it harder to schedule it in. Because there's that window with newborns of like, what do you count?
4 to 10 days.
4 to 10. I was going to say mine's always like 10 to 14.
Yeah.
When I was doing a lot more newborns. But yeah. Same.
I mean, there's no wrong.
There's no wrong time. But it's like when they're the squishiest and there's still very much so like that little in uterine position.
Like curl. Yeah.
Curl.
No, I mean, I saw a newborn that was a month old and they still looked like
they still have the curl.
Love it. So cute.
Oh.
No, they didn't
have the curl, but they were still baby. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But for a business owner, someone who, our family income depends on my job.
Yeah.
Much like you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
That without that forward notice, it's hard to know. It's gig work. It's hard to know if you're going to have an income when you can't plan forward too much, right? The other piece is it's very reactive. Makes it hard to be planful about how to grow and scale your business.
Yes. And I was going to say, as a mother, that's almost impossible because it's like, okay, now I have like a million other tasks in my head I have to figure out to make that one job possible. But also as a business, exactly.
Coordinating, can granddad come get the kids off school? Who can cover this 15-minute block that I won't be available in order to take this project?
Right. Drive my kid from this location to that location.
That sort of thing. Yeah. I know you have plenty of experience in the same thing, the same arena. So that is, the major challenge of project work is it is unpredictable, it's unstable, it's unplannable.
Yeah.
Right? You keep hoping and doing everything to attract clients. It also becomes challenging to get to really know your client and help them move forward. So when you're talking more about retainer clients or commercial clients, they're trying to grow their business too, or they're trying to do their thing.
Yeah, I love supporting that part of it, right? Like, let's make you blow up and make you big. Yeah.
If you
whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be that you blow up because that can be scary in its own realm. But yes.
But if you like being with people, you enjoy hearing all these projects and getting that new creative sort of, hey, let's partner. I like meeting people. I like being around people. And honestly, to keep meeting good people out in the world is really refreshing. Yeah. To your spirit in these days.
Especially with the news, the way that it is. Yeah.
So the draw there is to get to know someone, hear about their passions, hear about what drives them, and then be like, I'm going to be on your team. Yeah. Let's take this and go with it, right? And like you said, blow it up or get the exposure or whatever you're trying to do. And it's like, let's do it. What do you care about? Hearing other people's passions and getting energy from that.
And so many times, again, as small business owners, we try to do it all ourselves. They're also trying to do it all themselves. And that's impossible. It's impossible to do the fullness of what can be done as one human being. So once you get to that point that you're looking for that it should feel like, I would think, such a relief to have someone step in and be like, great, let me take this whole thing and I'm going to make it beautiful. It's going to be gorgeous. And you're going to have it and people are going to love to see what you're creating and doing because they're going to feel the passion in that story too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the benefit of that is, hey, we did this last month or last quarter. Yeah. How did it play out? Cool. Let's keep going.
Right.
Let's learn from that, develop, change it up. Yeah. Brainstorm together and keep moving it forward.
Yeah.
I have had a number of commercial clients and they're all quite different. And I think it's really...
You've got that one wine shop.
I love the wine shop, of course.
Yeah. You get great too. Free wine. It's part of your deal.
No, but that's okay. She pays me, I buy wine. It's great.
She pays you, you get it back, you get a bottle of wine.
As business owners, when you work with another small business or another business, you can really appreciate
everything that goes
the areas and to be able to come in and say, you know what, you put your brain on the thing you do best in your business. Let me put my brain on showing it. Right?
Yeah.
So that you can achieve whatever goal you're having. So I'm enjoying this new facet of photography and being in this world is joining with these small businesses and helping them do a little something extra on their dream, right? And connecting with people. Yeah. But for you, especially with your dance background and everything you do with dance, what is taking you in this shift of commercial and retainer clients?
So like the becoming a mom thing, and I am a single mom by choice, so I am and will always be the only breadwinner for our family. And it's a small family, but still there's a lot of stress, as I think people who have to support families and earn incomes know that, you're in charge of this and you are the one that will make it or break it depending on what happens or doesn't happen. And I want to, as my business, no pressure, just a tiny little life force or 6 of them, however many children you have that are depending on your success on those things. No stress at all. I've been wanting to grow for many, many years. I've been, this is a side story that's probably too long, but as a kid, I was thinking about this the other day. When I did pretend play, like I'm watching Josie do pretend play, and it's like unicorns and rainbows and villains and all that stuff. But as a kid, I pretended to create businesses. I am not kidding. I made I made everyone have mailboxes on their doors at my family's house at one point, and I delivered mail, and I picked up their messages and sent them off to the other messages. Like, I absolutely ran a U.S. Postal Service inside of our home. I did a library service, and I had library cards that I designed. I did the graphic design where I drew them and like made the cards, and, you know, everybody got their books and they had the stamp that told them when they had to turn it back in by. I played church where I made, this is the worst one, and I'm not religious at all anymore, so it's really funny. But we went to church when I was a kid. My dad was very insistent upon it. And I would, after church, make everyone come back and redo church so that I could lead the church and run the church. So as a kid, I always did businesses. And I have worked for other people for many, many years, and that's great. It does take away that sense of like growth, of excitement, of development. And I don't know, 2006 is when I started my photography business as a freelancer. Like, I did project work, did little things here and there. I was very in dance specific things. And as I've done it and done more of it and branched into the commercial world of dance photography, and I still did babies and newborns and families and all those seniors and engagements and things like that. There's something really satisfying about helping another business, having like just taking that part off of another business, right? Mm-hmm. But then also being the single breadwinner, project work is extremely hard as the only person making income to plan for growth in your business. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what is my income going to look next month, can I pay another person to be on payroll to do these tasks for me, or will I not be able to? And having that sense of retainer, for sure, I'm highly motivated by that sense of I want to grow. Mm-hmm. And in growing, I need to have some predictability to be able to get these team members and these other really talented, wonderful, beautiful artists who maybe are that type of brain that are going to show up and they're going to work their butt off and then they're going to go home, but they don't want to have to do all the other stuff that we do as business owners, to get them on the team to be able to work and help create towards these things and at the level that I want them to too. But also it's the other side of exactly what you're talking about, working with a company and building that relationship. I get to learn about them. I get to know what they're passionate about. I just said that with such an E accent. I get to know what they're passionate about. And then I get to help amplify and tell that story and be passionate with them about that in a way that they wouldn't have been able to do it with where their focus should be.
Right. What is on their product or service. On their
product and what they do. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's always an interesting thing because it's my work often is played out in the social world. And that didn't exist when we were kids. So it's like, wow, I would never as a kid dreamt that this is what I'm doing, that I'm literally building assets and pieces of content and stories that are going out into a place that didn't exist when I was a kid at all, which is kind of cool. And also there's times when we do like the trending videos where I'm like, this is my job. Like, I can't do any of the trends right now, but any one of those trends where it's like, this is what I'm doing for my work right now is this.
Well, I can tell how many times we've been at weddings, especially I think last year when we did like the year-long, the year-long like video clips for the reel that we made, just like, yeah. And people come by like, oh, can I help you? I love that. Can we like, no, that's okay.
No, it looks this way.
Yeah. It's our job.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. But the consistency of it, right? So like there is something, it's multifaceted in that it's giving me consistency as a mother and as a breadwinner, as a parent, and it's giving me consistency as a business owner to be able to grow my team, and it's giving me consistency with that client itself too, to create good work and to learn, right? Like we're never instantly perfect right off. Right. In anything, we're human. There is always a sense of growth. So as you do it and as you learn that person and that client relationship develops, everything you do just gets better.
Yes.
And that's why they talk about it when you lose an employee in a big business. They don't care because it's like you've got 27 ranks of different people and you lose a person and it's like, nothing. But now someone else has to do that job again and learn it and from scratch. And like they might do it different. They might do it better. They might do it worse. But it's just you've broken the chain of improvement and you've started over. Mm-hmm. And I think that I don't feel that way when I do project work necessarily, but I feel the positivity of it when I do retainer work.
I think one of the other, just the reality of retainer or commercial work is the schedule. I think that's underappreciated, but I think you, as you mentioned, you're a single mother by choice.
Yep.
There is a reality of working hours and raising your child all on your own. And so often project-based work can be helpful in the aspect of like, I need to put my child to bed and then I can get my hours in and that works. Then as they grow or as your daily schedule needs change, those retainer and commercial clients become more, business hour during the day. And you stop losing those after school practice times, those Saturdays, the number of Saturdays I didn't get to a kid's game.
Sure.
Because of weddings. Fortunately, my business grew to a point and my experience grew to a point where I could say, I'm not taking that anymore.
Yeah.
I can say no to that and prioritize my family in this regard. But now I also need to shift and find work that fits with the lifestyle, right? That I'm doing all this work to create. To cultivate.
And I think that's one of the things too, as a business owner and not doing it all yourself, that is, you have the retainer clients, you have the proven income every month. It allows you to scale your business to a point. Do you still want to offer that service? Maybe you do. You hire somebody who is in a life position to be able to do those types of hours.
Sure.
Versus you just losing it all together, because
and it helps them.
And it helps them. It helps you, and it helps the client, right? It's you're just always trying to find the best benefit thing. Because you started doing photography out of the love of wanting to document things of your children's lives and then doing that for other families.
Oh, yeah.
Because those moments are so precious.
Oh my gosh. It still fills my bucket. I think I would never leave seeing, newborns and families. It's such a precious... I'm a sentimental person.
My dad passed away a few years ago, and it's having those photos. I think that's one of those conversations where it's like, you're going to spend $10,000 on a wedding. It's like, okay, but I will never say this to a client directly in a client meeting ever, but it's like, at some point your parent will die. Do you want a photo of them on your wedding day? Do you want it to be properly exposed? All of the things that the talent that people who charge that much bring to the table, unless they're scamming you, which is another whole conversation we can talk about. It's the preservation of those moments with your parents.
Absolutely.
And then for your children.
And all your people.
All your people.
Absolutely. Yeah. But parents and grandparents, all of it. I mean.
And that's why I take so many photos of Josie and me together.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, someday I won't be here.
Right.
But you'll have.
Right.
Not
No, and I'm with you. You don't want to be dark, but the reality is when we lose someone,
that's what you have.
The very first thing we go looking for are pictures.
Yeah.
What pictures do I have? What video what remnants of their existence, their voice, their movement, the moments you had together, you go looking for those. And those suddenly become the greatest treasure.
So important.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's, of course, you don't want to be grim, but the reality is look.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, about portrait work with families. Sometimes we're going too long. We need to go. We'll cut this into a different, smaller thing. Sometimes I'm an asshole. I think that's not a surprise to probably you. But maybe others don't know. I might sometimes be an asshole. Sometimes people post pictures and they're like, look at my work. And I'm like, I don't feel anything because I don't know that person.
Right.
You know that person and you did that work for that person. And that work is so important for that person. And I get that. But a photo of a mom holding a kid because I don't know them doesn't mean anything. It's not that it's not valuable to me, but it's like I'm not going to cherish that the same way that a family member would.
Absolutely.
And so it's the telling of the stories of our own lives it does have so much value.
Absolutely.
And that's why that work is important versus commercial work is like, here is a beautiful product that's going to help other people. It's like breaking a different wall, I guess. And I don't know if that's even worth talking about, but I think that's why the pricing's different too, to a certain extent, right? Like you're paying a lot of money to have photos taken of your family because it's important to your family.
It is your legacy.
It's your legacy.
Is. I know, we've got phones that take great pictures and that's great until you drop your phone and they're on God. And you're about it.
They're fab, but then Cleveland Clouds messes up. They lost a whole bunch of my footage before.
And I'm not saying that those aren't valuable. I think you should do that. You should also hire a professional who's going to bring a different level of reflect something differently than your cell phone is going to.
Also, this is not anything, but oftentimes people who will grab your phone and take a selfie of you aren't going to do your best angle, and a photographer is going to make sure that you look good in it. And it's so important, and it's the whole trend of moms need to be in the photo because often moms are the ones taking the photos.
Absolutely.
And no offense, dads, but when you hand the phones to dads, they don't have the same amount of focus and attention to not all of you, not all of them. But often, it's the joke that it's like, I asked my husband to take pictures of me with the kids, and it's her sleeping on the couch with a food stain and her hair's all messy. And he's like, that's beautiful because he thinks that's beautiful. And that's also really sweet in itself. But, you got to have some moments for the moms that feel like, motherhood.
Yeah.
That's motherhood.
Yes.
That's the beautiful part of motherhood
Yes.
that we need to often be reminded of, absolutely, especially in those hard.
So, I mean, that's point for project-based work, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not opposed to a family putting me on retainer to come out every month or every other month and get updated.
Yeah.
Pitch that out there, right? But there's a difference. There's a difference in, I mean, both of those arenas serve a function. They serve different functions in our community. They serve different functions to a business owner. So I think it comes down to, what am I trying to create and put out there? What am I trying to leave as a mark, as a legacy? And what is going to fit so that I can cultivate my own family's existence?
Yeah.